Hi folks, my name is Tim, and in this final section we're going to be going over inheriting products. So first of all, inheriting products is the ability to take someone's pre-existing 3D model as a creator product and retexture that inside the editor and set it up as your own product. So for this example, we're going to be inheriting an environment. So we're at the project selection screen, and under Painter Products, we're going to select Inherit Environment. So we're going to go ahead and click New Product. And you can see this looks fairly similar to the other layout that we saw, except we don't have an import model option because we're not actually importing a model that we've created, we're inheriting from somebody else's product. So we have our parent product ID here, which is currently 0. So if we click this ... button, this opens up this dialog where we can enter the product ID of the product that we're going to be inheriting from. So I'm going to be inheriting from product number 3105. And we'll click load. And we can see we've kind of loaded inside of it here. So I'm going to use the camera controls in the bottom left and zoom out. Okay, so this has gone ahead and loaded up this product. And all of the textures have been replaced with this default texture. So when you inherit from somebody else's creation, you don't get access to any of their textures to protect their assets. So we're going to click on Edit Model, and these are all of the texture slots that make up this product. So what we can do, much like we saw in the previous video, is we can click any one of these thumbnails to load up a texture. So, and we can also see as we mouse over, we get the highlighting for what part it is, which is very helpful during this process. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one, and I'm just going to throw on texture we've used previously, and we can see that gets applied. And I'm just going to quickly put on some textures here as an example, and we'll select this one. All right. So basically what we do is we continue this process of applying our textures, and some of the product developers will provide maps for different parts as well on their product pages, which can be very helpful for creating specific textures for a specific product. The last thing that I want to show here is we went over a little bit about the material properties, but there was one material that I want to show that we didn't cover previously. So, oops, go back into Edit Model, and we want to find this one here. And we're going to go to Texture Options. So we'll notice that when we're inheriting from a product, we still get the material options that we can go ahead and set for any one of these. So we're going to select the material type dropdown, and we're going to go to water. And you can see right away, by applying water, we have our grid overlaying here, but we can see we get completely reflective and animated water with one click. Now you'll also notice that we have some additional options here. I'm not going to be going over everything, but I'll go over some of the core topics here. First of all, we have scale. Scale basically affects the overall ripple size, so you can see as we decrease this, we actually get less ripples, so it creates a more smooth look to the water. Or we can increase this if we want, and get, oh, that was the wrong one. Increase the scale, and you can see here that we get a lot of smaller fine ripples. So I'm just going to kind of put this in the middle somewhere. And you already sort of saw what I was just going to show, which is distortion. Distortion affects how distorted the reflected image is in the water. So as we increase this, we can see that it distorts the reflection quite a bit more. We also have watercolor, and we have our color browser that we can use here. And this will directly affect the tint color of the water. So that way we can go ahead and tint it, which is very helpful. Now the thing to realize here, of course, is that because this is reflective, in a full scene, when we have other objects in the scene and a full skybox, all of that information is being reflected in the water. So, because especially the skybox, if you have a blue for a skybox, that blue is going to be reflected and tinted in the water and kind of affect how the water looks as well. So that's something to keep in mind, that you're not necessarily seeing in the editor, but we'll see in client time. So, and again, we have the red, green, and blue sliders that we can use to adjust the tint levels as well. The other thing that we can take a look at here is we have the scroll X and scroll Y, which basically that affects the speed of the rippling. So we can see now going a little bit crazy. And we have scroll X and scroll Y, which basically the rippling effect is basically, you can think of it as two layers of rippling on top of one another. And by those going two different directions, it creates that rippling effect. Now, if so as general rippling, it's usually a good idea to have the X and Y values, one positive and one negative. But if we scroll these so they're both positive value, and let's actually bring this down a little bit more so it's not quite as chaotic. It can still create a rippling value, but can kind of create the illusion of it flowing in kind of a given direction versus just complete random rippling. All right, so that is the water effect and how you inherit from somebody else's product. So I'm not going to go over applying textures to the rest of that. That would be kind of boring. And that pretty much finishes it up for me.